Yo, yo, yo. It is Reverse Polarity, episode 30. I'm your boy, HifiVega, the man who always streams, and I'm joined today by the man who never sleeps, the understander of manuals, the man who knows random things that makes him seem intelligent. What's up, Dean?
That was kind of hurtful.
Obviously, I watched The Boring Life.
I
Part
figured that. I was like, dude, he watched The Boring Life, part 2. Hell yeah. Yeah, Mr. Berg up here had it right, man. Soundman broke the internet last night. You guys did a wonderful show last night. For anybody that didn't catch that, I strongly recommend going back and checking that show out. Interviewing Soundman. That was
Doug was
actually. We should call him Doug because he wasn't Soundman last night. He was Doug
he was
last
actually
night.
Doug. Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because a lot of the times people they don't understand that there is your online personality and then there's your offline personality. And it's like when the camera goes on, it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you don't get the ability to really let that out, let that in, your who you are out. I mean, in my case, there's not much surprise. I mean, between this, that, and The Boring Life, it's like you pretty much, here I am. But with Doug, there was always that is, I'm not going to say an act, but that's a character. Soundman is like a character. And, the fact that he's let it go this long is impressive as hell because it's gotta be fatiguing. It's
always, you always have it's always a little bit of your personality. What happens is it gets amped up to 10 or 100 when you go online. So I might actually kind of be like this a little bit, but then once we go online, boom, you just amp it up a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta spice it up. But I thought it was great because Fernando and I were talking about it. I'm like, so you think he's gonna be Soundman or he's gonna be Doug? And I said, dude, he's 100% gonna be Doug, and it's going to be a wonderful show. He goes, no, man, I bet you it's Soundman. I'm like, it just won't carry with you two as interviewers to be Soundman. It just won't be a good show if he does that. I was like, man, I hope he's Doug. I hope he's Doug. I hope he's Doug, because I loved the show. I loved him talking about it as it's a character and listening to the third person of it, and just the back end side of things, which you guys were asking great questions. And it was a joy to watch him. I mean, it's almost like the Soundman show should be one thing, but just to have a Doug show where it's just like Doug, that might be equally as interesting. Just because it's he's got 3 or 4 kids. He's from California, so I mean, there's a part of that would work too, which would be cool, but. There again, there's only so many hours.
You get to see kind of I wouldn't say emotional side, but you get to see the real Doug last night. So that it was a great show, and he really carried the show. He was ready, and he had the material, and I was like, hey man, we get to actually meet Doug now.
Well, I mean, he's been doing it 10 years? We decided last night. It's 10 years of doing this, and I loved watching the classic Doug stuff with the glasses and the super widow's peak. And, because there again, just like you guys, those were the shows I started watching and going, I can do better than this. or not in the sense of better, just I can do a different version of this my way, because I don't necessarily want to do it his way. But he was right about one thing when he said, when you started back then, you had to be a bit goofy and do things odd, because when we started doing our unboxings, we did the same thing. We had our little stupid shtick at the beginning that was just pure torture, and the Flava Flav thing, and the juggling, and the frisbees, and the the rapping, and all that stuff that we did at the beginning of our broadcast. You just did that because back then you had to do something outlandish to get people to notice you. But then when we decided to do the install based stuff, it was always it has to be 100% professional. It has to be the real day-to-day, this is how it is, and whether the camera's on or the camera's off, I'm always kind of stiff in the install bay. So, because it's the car is the most important thing in the bay. Nothing else matters. It's just the car. So getting that across to the viewer was the most important thing I wanted to do. So, whereas like jokes about mamas just wasn't really going to work.
So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
No, and it works. And that's the thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. It worked great for him.
Yeah.
And so there was no reason for us to do anything like that. So,
yeah, for sure. And I did not know that he had an iPad dash kit for the very first iPad the day they came out, and he was doing it.
So
that was news to me.
The first iPod video was one by Soundwaves. There was a company called Soundwaves here in Florida that knew a guy at the Apple store, and they actually got the measurements for it before it dropped. And they put up the first video on putting an iPad in the dash because they had actually cheated. And they made it on the news and all the other stuff. And I know the guys there, but they beat him as far as getting it up first. But in the end of the day, it never really mattered because he's done so much with the iPad. It's like, who did what?
Well, like he said, he thought everybody was going to be doing it at the time. But it was kind of a niche thing. Even still today, really.
Oh, yeah. And we always get that question. I always go, there's Doug.
Yeah.
Sound man.
Yeah.
Could you ask for a better resource of it? I mean, he's got like 100 videos on how to put the iPad in the dash in almost every car. Go bug him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Power hog in the house.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
But no, you guys did a great show on that, man. I enjoyed that a lot.
Appreciate it.
I, of course, came in late because
that's how you do.
I was running. It's like, dude, just getting here for this show. It's like, gotta hurry.
Yeah. So, I had big plans. I was going to rewatch The Sound of Metal this afternoon, but you know what happened?
Life?
Man, this is what happens when you get old.
Okay.
Or when you get over 40. So I had these big plans. I set up the stream. I done all this stuff. I went ahead and cooked dinner early. I was like, get this out of the way.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm just going to sit in the recliner for a second and just kind of relax. Boom.
You pulled a dad. You pulled a dad move, man.
Totally. I was out for like 45 minutes to an hour, and I wake up. My wife's watching Grey's Anatomy. I was like, the show
your wife is watching Grey's?
Oh, dude, she's a fanatic. She watches every hospital show.
So the girls have been watching Grey's now for about a year because they never watched it. So they're on like 7 or 8 season, and they've been watching, and it's like
it makes you want to feel like shooting yourself.
It's interesting, but yes, it's like I don't know why anybody wants to watch this, but they love it, and they've been working their way through it.
Yeah.
Funny thing. So the last show, someone asked me what I was eating, and I was like, really? So it's a salad that's comprised of lettuce, chicken, and salad dressing, and that's pretty much it. Last week it would have been the American mix from Publix, so that adds radishes and some other crap.
They got a little spice to them too.
Yeah, so it has radishes and cabbage. Either way, it's just a bag lettuce salad. So I eat a lot of salads with chicken. So thank you for asking. And also, no, I do not smoke or do any form of drug at all. I'm the world's most boring person. I don't drink. I don't snort. I don't shoot up. I don't vape. I don't partake in any form of business, as it were. About the most exciting thing I'll do is every now and then, as you'll see, I'll have my ginger ale bold, and that's pushing it. Exactly.
I drink too many of these, man. I drink way too many of these, but they're freaking ice cold.
You and Sue both, man. You got
freaking delicious, dude.
Yeah,
you can't beat an ice cold Coke Zero, especially if you can find like a cherry Coke Zero. Oh man.
Oh yeah, she drinks that too. You sound like Fernando though, because like he is a Coca-Cola hardcore, like full-leaded Coca-Cola, and like people bring him Coke. Like the guy from California this week brought him a case of Coca-Cola. Brought me a case of water. Brought him a case of Coca-Cola. He was like, he loves that. He gets so excited. It's like,
yeah, it's hard to be. You go to a restaurant and they're like, is Pepsi okay? It's like, no,
No,
it's not. It's
no,
absolutely not okay. I'll
no,
have a Dr. Pepper, I suppose.
no. It was funny because a buddy of
Oh,
mine was up there.
this old thing right here,
Yeah, I
that's
saw
the
that the other
Mohawk.
night.
Yeah,
We'll have to talk about that in a minute.
sure.
So a buddy of mine that I used to work with was up today, and he's like, he sees the 2 containers sitting on the workbench. He goes, "Okay, time out. There's something wrong here." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Why is there like full on Coca-Cola and a case of Fiji water? Like these 2 things don't belong next to one another." And I go, and Fernando goes, "Well, the Coca-Cola is mine and the Fiji water is Dean's." And he goes, "Oh, okay, okay." He goes, "Because I think we're too white to drink Coca-Cola." And I go, "What does that mean?" He goes,
Yeah.
we just can't drink Coca-Cola anymore." And I go, "Oh, so like we're a Diet Coke Zero kind of society now?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"That is the more appropriate white person drink." And I was like,
I guess you're right.
and I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna argue the point, but
Yeah.
I was like, damn, okay. Like, wow.
It's got to be true. Although special shout out to Fiji water because that water is freaking good.
I've never had it, so I'm anxious.
I like almost any bottled water that's not. I don't like Nestle bottled water. They put extra minerals in it.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, but I like Ozarka, like all the spring waters for sure, and all the regular,
So we have a brand here called Zephyr Hills.
Yep, that's good.
It's because it's here in Florida, Zephyr Hills.
Yeah. We we go to Florida every year, so
yeah.
We're a big water drinking house. So when we go, we buy groceries because we stay in the condo. So obviously we get the Zephyr Hills. That's like the name. That's like the Florida water. So you just gotta have it.
Franco likes Pepsi. There's one in every group, right?
Yeah, there's got to be.
Oh, wait, here we go. Kip, Canada Dry Bull Ginger Ale is really good, especially with a shot of... I'm going to take your word for that, Kip.
No, ginger ale's good.
We were at a barbecue. Oh, we were at Haley's graduation. I was working the grill, and my wife's cousin came up, and he knows I'm a ginger ale drinker, and he goes, he's got this can of ginger ale bold in his hand, and I'm about as behind as it comes on soft drinks. And he goes, "Hey, have you tried this?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Let me get you one." And I took an immediate sip of it. You know, when you get that ginger and it's just like, oh man, it just like burns your nose. This is like 100 times worse. And I was like, "Oh, this is great." And I think I drank like 3 cans of it. So I was so hyped on sugar for the rest of the day. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
How do you feel about Fresca?
I don't mind Fresca. I actually,
me neither. Cool. It's like one of those, like I could drink a few of them.
Yeah. Fresca is a flying drink. Like Fresca is on a plane. Like if they come up and they're like, "We have Fresca," I'm like, ooh. And when we were flying to audio control, Haley and I, we're on the plane, and the guy goes, "Would you guys get anything to drink?" And I was like, "What do you have?" And he says, "Fresca." And I said, "Ooh, I'll take a Fresca." And he goes, "Ooh, would you like it with cranberry juice?" And I go, he goes, let me just make you one. And I said, "Okay." So Haley and I sat there and sipped our Fresca with cranberry juice, and it was like, pinkies out. I mean,
you
100%.
felt extra fancy.
Oh man, it was good. He hooked us up.
Deviant's got me pegged.
Let me get a cherry Dr. Pepper with 2 shots of cherry, an extra cherry, a cherry flavored straw, and some more cherries. Yeah, I mean, when I was like, "I don't care, I'm living life to the fullest. Give me every cherry soda you got," I would be right there with you, And now, no. Yeah, I want to live past 50. So, cherry 7-Up was my favorite. Like,
oh yeah, cherry 7-Up's good. So, although it does have a little cough syrupy. It's kind of on the edge,
Yeah, I don't care. What was funny is when I was younger and doing the RC car thing, I wanted to paint my car cherry 7-Up. So I didn't have any stickers because you can. So I literally peeled the label off of the cherry 7-Up bottle, took double-sided the carpet tape, the really thin stuff, put it on there, and then cut it out with a razor and made my own sticker and put it on the side of the car, and blew everybody's mind because they're like, "Oh, where did you get the stickers?" And I was like,
"Unsponsored, bro.
You're on your own."
That's
So
much like Kip's story of building the stereo system with a belt and a battery in his pocket. That's the Kip version of the Cherry 7-Up story.
yeah. Do we have a poll?
Dude, I did not put a poll up today.
You're kidding.
You know, hey, usually
fall
Bobby
asleep.
hits me up. If I forget, Bobby hits me up. But I fell asleep, so I didn't put a poll up today.
Okay.
And I didn't think about it until right before the show, and I was like, oh my God. But instead of a poll, how
Okay.
about we talk about what have you been watching? I've been watching Doom Patrol. I'm on season 2, episode 7. Like,
Oh, so you're almost done.
Yeah. It's getting like where we've got Miranda instead of Jane now, and we don't know what's going on with that. Oh, Niles kicked him out the spaceship, and
you're going to get a lot of cliffhanger. So you got a lot of good shit coming, and then you're just the last episode. You're just going to be like, "What the? When does the next season start?"
Yeah. Well, they get it's so insane, you know. Larry,
I'd like to tell you it doesn't get any more insane, but it does. It gets so much more insane.
Well, I didn't think you could get much more insane than when they went inside the donkey to the other world and the Mr. Nobody and
you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, you should have known at the beginning of the season when he falls in love with the cave girl.
Yeah.
You know, it was good. This is okay. This storyline's gonna be going somewhere weird.
The whole candle maker thing too, like, whoa.
I'm not gonna comment on that one, but how did you like the butts? The eating. Have you got to the butt scene yet? Where they're in the butts?
Oh yeah, with where they escape from the agents or whatever.
Yeah. So you have the butts chasing everyone, eating people.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like I got my wife. So like I said, I really only watch TV like 1 to 2 hours maximum a day, and it's when we lay down. So she's invested in Doom Patrol now. She never thought she would be, but she's invested, and she's like asking me all these questions. Like I have no clue.
I don't eat Little Debbie's off camera as much as I'd love to. I don't. I've been watching HBO's The Nevers.
I haven't gotten to it yet.
Wait, I'll just do you the favor. Wait, it's on like episode 3, so I don't know how many they're gonna do, but this week to week is driving me up the freaking wall because it's like every Sunday at 9:00, and it's like, oh my God. But it's freaking awesome. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And then the other thing I started watching was another show called Gentleman Jack, which not really on the list of anything that in this crowd would watch, that is for sure, but I don't know. It just seemed like it's kind of a story documentary, you know, talking about this person and her activities, and not anything anyone here would ever watch. Ever. But I can handle I like it because it's like I can do one episode and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to watch that. I'm good. I got enough of that. And I just go do something else. So it's not like I'm going, oh, what's the next? I'm like, no, I got enough. I got enough of whatever she's got going on. I need to take a break. So
is it like a docuseries type situation?
No, so it's the story of these. It's the story of basically.
You had to pause and build up to it.
It's the story of the first lesbian. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. If you've ever seen a bottle of Johnny Walker, the little guy with the top hat and the cane, basically looks like Gentleman Jack. It's a story of this woman from that time period that is a rich landowner, and she's a lesbian, and it's just she wrote a diary of her life, and they found it, and it was all encoded because she was super smart. Like, she went to college, but she couldn't stay because she was a woman. She learned how to be a doctor, but she couldn't be one because she was a woman. She was super smart. She was like she was a man trapped in a woman's body, you know, as they say. But she wrote this diary, and it was all in like, it was coded. But back then, the code was easy enough to break because it was like some Latin, some Greek, and stuff like that, that the simpletons that would have found it wouldn't know what they were looking at. But she was a world traveler, so she just came up with this code. And then one of her relatives found it in the wall of their manor and translated it, and eventually, you know, became archive, and they were married. And so it tells the story of her life. And so they picked a portion of it, and they've made this, you know, story movie thing about it. It's just intriguing. I find that time frame, you know, the horse and carriage time frame, intriguing. And, you know, just to see like the struggle that, you know, like we look at the struggle that we have now in society, and we think it sucks. Looking at that sucks big time. Like, if, you know, women had no rights at all, they could do nothing. And this is a story of someone that didn't believe that, and how she managed to best the world. And so it's just from that perspective. Like I said, nobody here is going to want to watch that.
I get into stuff like that. I try to watch Dickinson on Apple TV Plus. Did you watch that?
Yeah. No, I know. I try. I was like,
you know, I will say, like, A Knight's Tale got the modern stuff right with the old stuff. You know, they're talking in modern speak, and it kind of, this Dickinson, I just couldn't get into it.
Well, what is it? What's the one with zombies? HifiVega that free HBO subscription, and now I get nothing done.
Dude, HBO Max. I'm digging HBO Max right now.
It's the best. Yeah. What is it? Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies?
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
We'll talk about it on the next show. All right, let's talk about some car audio, because we want to lose the audience too bad here. I mean, although they're having a great time in the comments on their own, and I'm glad we can be here to let you guys catch up with yourselves, and, you know, hang out and do all that kind of fun stuff. And I upgraded to a chair because I'm ready for tonight's show.
He's comfortable. He's going to be, you know, kind of kicked back.
Oh yeah, big pimping. Yeah, totally. Try not to hit the TV tray that the laptop.
I've made it, you know, 3 for 3 today.
Yeah,
got all the right shirts on every day. I made sure to make it a point. So.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's insanity.
Well, I caught the install of the Challenger today. Dude, you got to pop the whole panel out. What a nightmare, just to put some 3.5s in there.
Yeah, the Avalon that we just did was the same way. It's like, oh my god, it's just. And the bad thing is it's a Chrysler. Yeah. So we all know that in like 5 years, those ain't getting replaced.
Right.
Be like, listen, man, we can't replace those. This whole thing is just going to shatter in a million pieces. And no, man, just find out how much this piece costs, because it's going to break in half, or it's already going to be broken in half. So
I bet you're glad you didn't have to install an amp and stuff in that too, judging by the trunk.
We had already installed the amp. The amp was already in, so we'd already.
Well, I'm talking about a mid. You had a 4-channel in there?
No, it was just a monoblock.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was.
It was a thing.
It's called a Tuesday. Yeah.
Did it improve it though? Did it help the sound of it?
Oh yeah, it's night and day difference. I mean, we've done that. We do that a lot in the Jeeps. The new Gladiator is like, that's the most popular one. I think we even have a video of that in the Gladiator that we did, because it's the easiest thing to do in those cars. If it has the non-premium system, that's the key. If it has the premium system, it'll actually sound worse. But if it has the premium system, it's the easiest thing you can do. Pop them in, plug them in, and it immediately sounds like a whole nother stereo, because those factory middlers are the worst things ever. And just adding that tweeter up top is spectacular. And, you know, like I showed in the video how thin that that is a very purposely built 3.5, because everybody makes a 3.5 or has made a 3.5, but they're not purposely built like that one. And it's like Kicker could easily redesign their KS 3.5 and destroy that Kenwood, but it'll take 18 months for them to do that. So, we're not going to see that because they didn't figure out they needed to make a 3-way set, which kind of was like, hey, where's the tweeter and the mid-range and the 6x9 for every one of those cars?
Yeah, you gotta have the 6x9s now. Everyone's doing the 6x9s with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so they so my Kicker story, not this last trip, but the trip before, the ninja, as I call him, the keeper of the secrets, at Kicker, a guy by the name of Bart, coolest guy you will ever meet. This guy has talent. This guy can make stuff that will blow your mind. Like as a fabricator of things in life, this guy is incredible. Like his church every year does these movie nights, and he builds some of the sets for these things. And one year he built all of Monsters Inc. life-size characters like Roz and all this, like, and the orange guys, and you're just looking at, and like he did Willy Wonka, the little Oompa Loompas, and they're insanity. And like his son, I think, wanted to be like Robin or Darkwing, for Halloween this year, and they built the whole body armor for it. It was like the stuff this guy builds it's incredible. And then like he paints. So like this guy's got talent for days, but he's the keeper of secrets at Kicker. And he's the guy you would have talked to if you would have signed the NDA. Anyways, so this was before all that. And so he comes, we're all in the meeting, all these sales guys and store owners and everybody, and they're asking questions about speakers and stuff. And we're all like, hey, when are we going to get a 2.5-inch speaker? And they're like, do you think we need one? And we're like, what about 6x9 components? And he's just playing it off like, oh man, I don't know. I mean, do you guys see a need for that stuff? And everyone's like, yeah, why aren't you building this? And it was funny because I had just talked to somebody, which I don't want to get anyone in trouble. And they were like, dude, I was in a meeting, and and he's like telling me these secrets on the DL. They didn't work for Kicker. This was somebody else. I'm sure someone could figure it out. But, and he's like, man, they showed us these prototypes. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, don't tell anyone. I was like, I won't tell anybody. And I didn't. Now it doesn't matter because it's all much later, and I know more than he does, so we don't have to worry about it. And I don't tell him anything, and I have a blast doing it. But so it was one of those things where I was like, I kind of know they're coming, and I thought they were going to tell us that they're on their way. But this new Kicker, where it's like they're letting the cat out of the bag like 6 months, 8 months before the stuff's available, is just funny because it's like they would not let any of the secrets out of the tent before, but now it's like, hey, we're coming out with this giant subwoofer, and here it is, and this is what it looks like, and you're just like, oh. We're all like, when can we buy it? When can we buy it? And they're like, it won't be ready until third quarter. What? What do you mean?
That's the patented Kip wink there, Oh,
yeah.
You're talking about a 19.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know anything.
But Paul got the swag pack.
I haven't sipped out the DSP yet. It's going out this weekend. I got a bunch of stuff I got to get out. So I don't want to kill Sue with so much stuff. So I just kind of
they know we're slow at shipping. I'm slow shipper.
I suck at it, man. That's why it's like.
But I remember to throw in the banana Laffy Taffy, so that was important.
Yeah, but
we have a topic today.
Yes, hold on. Those are early secrets revealed. I might have something to do with those. Yeah. But it was just funny because it was like we're all sitting there and we're like, oh, we want these. But the neat thing is, one of the neat things about being involved with these manufacturers, whether it's on the non-disclosure side or if it's on the dealer side of things, is like when they ask you these questions about products, like one of the things that they developed for the new KS speakers is all the brackets to mount the speakers. And that came from talking to the dealers about, hey, what can we do to make this product better and easier to sell? And it was unanimous that everyone was like, stop putting the grills in the box and give us brackets, because we need brackets. It's getting too hard to know, like, you know, what they need. And these Pioneers come with these brackets. Why don't you, pardon me, why don't you guys have these brackets in the box, and we could sell more of your speakers if we had the brackets? And so, you know, what you see now, and there again, this 18 months later, what you see now is a KS speaker that comes with brackets. And it's pretty cool to see how, like, we asked for something as a industry, as their customer, and they went to work on it, and then we finally have that now. You know, and it's like, wow, that's how that works.
I think people are starting to see that in Unmasked a little bit, where they're kind of getting more info of stuff they're asking for, and it's kind of, you know, the normal people get to be somewhat involved in the process.
Well, and that was always the thing that, you know, we would tell them, you know, because we've been doing the whole live thing for a really long time and talking with consumers, and it was like, you know, our pitch was, hey, we have this audience that is all these guys, and they're telling us what they want, but you guys aren't listening, you know? And so, you know, what do you want? You know, and they all just kind of look at you like you're crazy. And now, thanks to COVID, that they were forced to listen. You know, it's like, oh, well, dang, I guess they were right. And I'm anxious to see what happens, because I mean, the results of what we're learning now won't be anything that we'll see a result on for another 2 years, because it takes that long to develop a product. I mean, from whiteboard idea to physical, tangible, ready to sell box is a good 2 years. So, you know, 2 years from now, some of the stuff that we've talked about, or that people have asked for, and we'll see as consumers. But that's also, just because one person asked for it, is it actually going to sell? You know, is it actually going to be a thing? And, you know, every manufacturer struggles with that. Like, I had a meeting with a manufacturer, not Kicker, as it wasn't Kicker. It was another manufacturer, and one of the topics that we discussed was their line of amplifiers and some of the features that they weren't putting in them. And the conversation kind of was like, well, okay, you know, do we need that feature? And it was like, well, it depends. You know, how are you going to market that feature? And they're like, that's the problem. It's like everyone wants a DSP in the amplifier, but nobody wants a DSP in the amplifier. Right. You know, we look at like a Q class that has a DSP built in the amplifier, and has it for what, 7 years now, and it didn't sell the amplifier. Whose fault was that? Was it the manufacturer's fault because they just couldn't, they came in too early, or is it the, you know, retailer's fault because they didn't understand the project, or I mean the product? So whose fault was it? Which dovetails directly into our conversation today, because products that have come out in the past that no longer exist, that would have been spectacular now, they just came out too soon. So
it happens in every faction of electronics. Something comes out too soon, and typically here's what happens: they introduce something way too soon, and, you know, it doesn't sell well, and then Apple 10 years later is like, hey, remember that thing that they done? Like, we're gonna do it and make it work, and everyone's gonna love it, and they're gonna think that we started this, which is fine, because I mean, they, at the point that they do it, they usually like have it so polished and refined that it's the market leader at that point.
Yeah, I mean, when the iPod came out, it was like, okay, the first one was okay, the second one was okay. By the time that fourth one came out, no one even remembered the first one. They were like, just throw those away.
And then SanDisk was in the dust. No one wanted to hear nothing about was it Creative Labs? Is Creative Labs or SanDisk that had one of the first ones? And
just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does not.
Yeah, when that Nano came out, that looked like a pack of gum.
Yeah,
and it was like, you know, and it was funny because that came out that same time that phone came out that had iTunes on it, and it was like
the rocker.
Oh, yeah,
the Motorola. I had a Motorola rocker. Not only did that, I had a the first generation iPod Shuffle, which is the
Yeah.
white stick that looked like a pack of gum.
That's what I meant. The Shuffle. Yeah.
Dude,
I still have them.
Did they still sell those like that?
No.
But they're different now. They look different. But I had the one that's like a pack of stick. Well, I was using it at work, of course. I mean, I've been listening to podcasts since basically they started.
Oh yeah.
And I'm over there cleaning up, and I'm steam cleaning. You know, where it's at the end of the day, or I was on third shift at this time. I totally dropped that Shuffle out straight into the water. I was like, dude, no.
But the nice thing was, it was only $100.
Yeah.
I mean, it still sucked, but I mean, I think I bought a Shuffle every time the new Shuffle came out, just because they were cheap, and like because the Shuffle was like the first watch.
Yeah.
When they did the square looking one, because you could mount it onto a watch and wear it on your wrist, and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And then I bought the thing and I did it. And
I totally forgot people doing they did. Yeah, totally bought a watch band and just clipped the. Yep. That was actually the second. I still got one of those somewhere around here. I got to charge them on a little cradle dock type situation.
Yep, plugged into the headphone jack.
Yeah. Classic.
So when the iPod Touch came out, the first iPod Touch, as soon as that product came out, I don't know what everyone else was thinking, but I knew right away the first time I held one of those, I go, this is going to change the world. And not that I was like Nostradamus or anything like that. I was just like, for me, I was looking at it purely from a car audio point of view. And I was like, this is going to be the tool of the future. This is going to allow us to do anything we want in a car. And I bought one and I brought it into work, and I was like, dude, we're going to be able to check our email from this. We can do internet browsing. We can use this to play music. We can use this to do test tracks. I can use this. I was looking at it just from the tool perspective. I was like, it's got a microphone. We can use it as an RTA. And everyone was looking at me in the bay like, what are you talking about?
You're giving them the whole Steve Jobs pitch in that. This is a mobile communicator. I can't remember the three things he said it was, but yeah, basically.
Yeah. And they're just like, no, it's not going to be any of that. And I was like, dude, how can it not? Like, it's going to be, and it has. It's turned into basically everything that and more, and it's just like, it was funny. So last night I was walking down the hallway after I got done editing, and the lights were all off and it's dark, and I didn't have any idea where my phone was. Normally it's sitting on the couch next to me. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell I put my phone. And so because I'll use it as a nightlight to get through the house.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. And it had me one of those throwback moments where it was like what life was before we had these communication devices in our hands 24/7. That we just, it's like, we almost have anxiety now. It's like, where's my phone? Where did I put it? It's like, where did my friend go? But I was like, I'm just like, it's not like I would have, if this was the 90s, I wouldn't have a flashlight and walk down the hallway. I would have just left the light on.
Right.
But now it's like,
you got to have it. It's to the point now where I'd be more concerned if I left my phone at home versus my wallet. Because if I had my phone, I could still pay for stuff. I've got it set up, I could still, but if I left my wallet, it's like, well, reverse this 15 years ago. I mean, who would have cared?
I'm not losing it. I lost it a long time ago. Okay. This train has gone off the tracks and is just heading in its own direction a long time ago. That's another thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine. I have a phone call every morning at 9:00 that I do religiously. It's 9:00 every morning, except for Fridays. That's 8:30 because we do the news show at 9. And I've been talking to a buddy of mine every day since COVID started. And I was talking to him today, and I said, it's funny. When we started this conversation, it was me trying to help you get through the fact that you're not going to the office anymore. Things are falling apart, and it's like the industry's kind of imploding. To now, where it's like I'm at my wit's end and over this shit, and just like I'm stressed out. I need a break. I'm just. And you're over there like, bro, working from home is the best, man. This is the best thing ever. Oh my God, this life is great. And I'm like, you suck.
I'm a little envious of the work at home people. I wish I could do the work at home. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know,
there's
speaking
no
of
doubt.
the iPod stuff, one thing that came was like an early, what was it? The Kenwood Music Cave,
Music Keg.
and then Rockford had the one with the big chips,
Yes.
the flashcards.
Symmetry.
No, that
Was it
was
the
the
Symmetry
DSP,
stuff?
right?
Yeah, that
No,
was the
no.
big DSP thing.
This
But
was the where it had the music, but I think they were like 32 megabit cards or something like that.
I wouldn't even have paid attention to something that stupid. We had the Music Keg though. We had that on the
Yeah,
wall. That was something that, if I recall right, which I probably don't, but I think it was one of those things that they offered to Kenwood, and Kenwood was like, "Sure, we'll take it." And it just didn't work out. Like, I think we sold 2, and we
right.
bought 2. Changer. So CD changers were kind of like it. Like,
Right.
Pioneer had the 25. I think I think when it was all, I think they ended up with a 50 at some point. That was just like ridiculous. Like 50 CDs. Are you kidding me? Why? But as soon as the CD changer could read MP3s, then it was like game on. Game on. Like, I had 2 10-disc Kenwood CD changers in my car that were just loaded with music, because I didn't have a computer, because that would have made too much sense, but Pioneer made a burner, so you could put CDs in it, 3 CDs, and tell it what tracks you wanted it to record, and it would burn them onto the CD. So I bought one of those because I was like, do I buy a computer or do I do this? I like this. This seems to make more sense. Stupid. So I would make all my own CDs that way. But yeah, the keg just never really, we didn't do much. But so one of the companies that has designed more stuff that has been cool way before its time, the number one company that has done this and consecutively does it, but doesn't do it anymore. Now they're always late to the party, is Alpine.
Yeah.
Alpine has made some of the most revolutionary car audio equipment over the last 30, 40 years that, I mean, the modern alarm system in a car with the 2-way communication and all that crap, that wouldn't exist without Alpine. Alpine had that way before anybody else had that. Like, way before, like years before anyone else. They used to make an alarm called an 8080 and an 8070. Basically, it was just a watch with 4 buttons on it, the standard Alpine 4 buttons. It didn't do anything. It wasn't 2-way communication, but the 8063 that came out after that had 2-way communication. Theirs was the only one also that integrated with the radio. So you could tie through the iNet, you could tie your radio into your alarm into your radio. It only lasted like 2 years before they were like, yeah, this is a dumb idea. But you also had the Alpine cell phone that would tie into your alarm system. So you could it would call you and you could turn on the internal microphone and hear the car. They just had stuff way before everybody, and it just didn't sell, or it stopped selling, or they did like their alarms. Their alarms were so awesome.
Yeah, they did have the best alarms. I mean, even when Clifford come out and, all these other brands that people like, Viper, still at that point, I think Alpine still had better alarms, but they just got overshadowed.
So Alpine made the best area sensor on the face of the earth. Their area sensor, and why it works so well, is because it was 100% integrated with the brain of the alarm, whereas like DEI just had the generic Doppler sensor that had 2 triggers.
It
was garbage. And DEI actually went to Alpine and asked if they could license the technology, and they told them no. Mainly because they did too much OE work, and it wasn't like, you guys can't afford to do this. Give me a break. I think, I don't know. They're again speculation. Who knows? But their radar sensor set up like it was the only, like, DEI's was a circle. It just went out, and if it hit metal, it would change. But theirs was egg shaped, and they actually wrote programming on how it's supposed to work. So, it wouldn't just false alarm. The interior sensor was off until the exterior sensor was tripped. So it was smart enough to know, hey, someone just approached the car, protect itself, get ready. And then if nothing happened, it'd turn it back off and go back to exterior. And because it was egg shaped, you could literally sit and figure out where to put it in the car. and watch it, you know, and just walk around the car until it would actually, you know, do what it needed to do. But there was no falsing on it. And you know, you'd program it through the key fob so you could stand outside the car and adjust it. And it was like, oh, it was the best. You know, it would take forever to install, but, you know, you were guaranteed it was going to work when you were done. And as far as Clifford went, Clifford had like their Omni sensor, their Omni impact sensor. Yeah. That was a 100% programmable sensor. So you'd put it in learn mode. You'd walk up to the car and you'd be like, I want it to go off when this happens. And it was that, like, whatever that was, whether it was kicking the tire, tapping the window, whatever made that happen, it remembered that. And then that would be what would set off the alarm. You could shake the crap out of the car, but as soon as someone went pow, so anytime someone would come up and they'd be like, hey, man, I want to protect my wheels. And I'd be like, against what? And they'd be like, someone comes up and they'd kick the wheel. I want it to go off. No problem, man. You need Clifford. Set the alarm, put it in learn mode, kick the tire, let it learn that, walk again, kick the tire, alarm will go off, walk out there, lock the car, demo the car, kick the tire, alarm goes off. They're happy. I made a bunch of money, and we call it a day. You know? So
I'm sure there's people like, I want to go do a sound competition, and I want my alarm to just go off constantly.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Oh, always.
That was a bit of a nightmare. Every sound competition.
Yeah,
there are alarm. Oh, dude.
Well, you know, it's like it's the guy that wanted the area sensor, wanted the impact sensor, wanted the glass break sensor, wanted the piezo sensors next to the door locks, so that if anybody rattles the handle, it goes off. Wanted the tilt sensor, and it's like,
yeah,
dude, man. Okay, okay.
No one wants to get in your Chevette.
No. And like here in Florida, glass breakage sensors were the worst. Like I stopped selling them. Like if someone came in like, I need a glass breakage, I'd be like, no, you don't. Yes, I do. And I'd be like, no, you don't. We live in Florida. You can't have a glass breakage sensor. Why not? Oh, my friend's got one in New York. And I'm like, I don't care. He lives in New York. He doesn't live in Florida. We live in the lightning capital of the world, dumbass. Okay. Every time lightning strikes, it sounds like your window is breaking. Guess what? Your alarm goes off. Duh. Yeah. And so they'd be like, no. And then we put it in, and then I'd get the phone call, the first big storm that came through, my alarm went off all night. And I'd be like, did you put it in valet? I don't remember how.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Tech support. Tech support. It's awesome.
And I'd be like, do me a favor, reach up underneath the dash and unplug it. You just unplug it from the back side of it. And then don't call me anymore. Yeah. Can't you adjust it? No. It's a glass breaking sensor. There's no sensitivity. It's literally a microphone that's listening for a specific frequency. And when it sees it, it goes off. Duh. You know, so it's not impact.
I'm so glad we're to the factory alarm systems setup now versus the aftermarket alarms. It's a bit.
Well, it's funny. One of the number one questions we always got is, you know, how come you guys don't do videos on installing alarms? I'm like, okay, first things first. We really can't, because in order to be an alarm dealer, you have to have access to the database to get the wiring for the car. So, I mean, yeah, Bulldog Security and stuff like that are up there, and you can get the basic information off of their website. But, you know, DEI and all these other companies, they pay a lot of money to give you access to this database of cars.
Yeah.
And in order to have that, like, you have to be a dealer, and you have to hit a quota, and you have to have. And don't get me wrong, it's not like it's impossible. I mean, everyone's got the story of like, I had a friend that gave me his password. Awesome. Like, good for you. It's like Netflix just with alarm installation.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, there's no point in me telling you how to put an alarm in. You know, it's like, how do I hunt for these wires in my car? Okay, well, according to this sheet, it says it's a green wire and a 27-pin harness located on the, you know, passenger kick panel. So we're going to get up and we're going to look into the passenger kick panel until we find the green wire. There's 47 green wires that we have to go through now. Oh, so exciting. Well, there's 3 27-pin harnesses, and it's pin 15. Okay, so, you know, it's like, all right, so look, and you figure find 1, find 27. All right, okay, so pin 15 is going to be on the second part of the harness. Okay, so when you find 1, look on the other part. If you see a green wire somewhere along there, chances are good that's your harness. You know, it's like, how does that translate out to telling people how to put in alarms? You know, or it's the opposite side of the coin is first you go buy a T harness and then you just unplug these 3 things and you plug it in and then you program it and you're good. And it's like,
that's the way to do it. That's the
yeah.
The new way is much better.
Oh, the new way is so much better because 5.5, 6 hours put in a remote start alarm system was just like, fuck this. You know. So finally, Paul tells me the other day, he goes, "Yeah, we're done with alarms. We're not going to do this anymore." I'm like, "Well, I mean, we literally do like one a year. What took you so long to figure this out? Because, you know, we just don't have time to deal with it." But yeah.
How do you feel about DIN plugs? That's something I kind of wish would stayed in. Hear me out. These are the reasons.
No.
I like it or an XLR actually, an XLR over a DIN plug because they lock in place.
Do you remember the Orions that had the mini XLR connectors?
That's exactly what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
That is something I wish would have caught on. You know, I think it would be relatively noise free. You wouldn't have to worry about the twisted pair as much. You'd have a secure connection. You can link them one to the other. I think it would have been a lot better than what we got now.
So the problem that we have with all of this, I'm going to take this just from a manufacturer standpoint. When we talk to them, any new technology that comes out, even if it's not new, it's just new to the industry.
Yeah,
we are so set in our ways that we're actually the problem why we don't get these cool things. Okay, so think of this. Recently, iData has updated their website to a new website that is like all the things that sucked about their previous website. Like you couldn't find the owner's manuals. You couldn't find the cars. Looking things up. You had 27 things to do this. You couldn't figure out like what module you had in the car and what it was flashed to and none of this crap. And so they said, all this stuff that you guys want, we're going to build this website. It's going to take us 1.5 years. And it's like, here you go. Like now I can literally have a customer come in that's having a problem. And if I don't know what firmware is on his thing, if I want to see if that's the problem, I can go into his radio. I can get the serial number off of the iData. I can walk over to my laptop. I can type that number in and I can go, you know, it was installed in 2010 with this firmware and this car for this serial number for this radio, and I can write that firmware down, and then I can go and click another button and go, what's the current firmware, what does it fix? And so it's like all this stuff is in nothing but complaints have they gotten for doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is just a website. You're talking about adding micro XLR cables to the side of an amplifier?
Are you kidding me? Would not add them, but if we started from that point and we didn't get to the whole RCA situation.
We started with these DIN cables that were like wonderful, because you got like 10 volts, 8 volts, 9 volts of input into the amplifier. Everything was up and there was no noise and it was fabulous. The problem was if you bought an Alpine radio, you had to buy an Alpine amplifier or you had to buy a DIN to RCA converter. Yeah. Well, if you're doing that, what is the point of having the DIN connector? So everyone also had their own DIN. So like Phoenix Gold had their DIN, PPI had their DIN, Orion had their DIN. I don't think Rockford ever even got into that crap. I think they were always RCAs. So it was like, okay, can we get a standard? And everyone just decided that was like, look, everyone uses RCAs. Let's just use RCAs. It's like, yeah, but that's the worst way to do it. Yeah, but everyone has them, and we can get them at Radio Shack.
Yeah. I mean, that's what exactly what happened.
Yeah, so everything just overnight changed to, because right when I was starting was the death of the DIN cable.
Well, see, and you mentioned the voltage. That's another bonus. It was like a very high voltage, and it was just a clean sound. It just left me wanting those cables. I would love to have those cables now versus what we have.
Yeah, I mean there was no gain. You didn't have to do any gain. You just click, done. I remember my my CRX 200 and my CRX 300. And it was like, okay, so people complain about DSPs and crossovers. All right.
Yeah.
And going active and all this other stuff and CC. You got a crossover calibrator? Yeah, I got one. Do you use it? Yeah. Okay, well, how do you? Okay, so my first system, my first big this is what I worked for 6 months to buy was 3 Orion 222s, Orion 250, Orion 2125 SX, which we've all seen here somewhere. And that's is that the right amount? I don't know. It was 6 amplifiers. Anyways, I had the tweeters in the dash, the Morels in the side, the Morel mid bass, the Morel mid range, the Integra Morels in the back, and a single 10 and a bandpass enclosure for the active crossover, because passive didn't exist. There was no passives. These were raw Morel drivers. It came in a box with no capacitors, no nothing. You bought a set of mid range, kind of like what you do now when you buy, your whatever brand,
like Parts Express or whatever. You're just getting the raw drivers.
Yeah, but I mean, it was decorated, it was car audio and it had all the neat stuff. So, I mean, but that's how it was sold. It was kind of like my first speaker set. So you bought a set of tweeters, you bought a set, and some of the companies still do that, like sell raw drivers. Like I know from Ground Zero, like the set we're getting ready to put in the uraniums, we're getting ready to put in Fernando's car. You just buy the speakers. It just comes speaker. Here you go. There's no caps. There's no coils.
Yeah.
So you buy this and it's like, I need a crossover. Because the amps didn't have crossovers. They had a left and right gain control. And finally, they went to one gain control, which you're like, oh, thank God. That saves a lot of time. And because you can guarantee most installers didn't sit there with voltmeters and match that shit.
Yeah. Well, I go to, I was just, when I tested these Rockford Fosgates for the old school SPL challenge, I was like, oh, why? I mean, I got the DD1 now, so it's easier, but still.
Yeah, it still sucks.
I don't want to do it on each channel.
You got a DD1, both channels, and figure out which one is louder, and then you got to turn the other one down to match it. And it's like, oh God, forget this. This is so stupid.
Yeah. Why did we do this?
Yeah, and so to get that passive crossover, because it was a tweeter, a mid range, a mid bass, and a subwoofer. So you're looking at a 4-way active crossover. Yeah. And they made a 3-way active crossover, and they made a 2-way active crossover. And you were like, what? So the 2-way was a high pass and a low pass. The 3-way was a high pass, a band pass, and a sub channel. And you're like, I don't have enough band pass channels. And it was like, they're like, you plug one into the other. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's a continuously variable low pass crossover. Okay, meaning it's from 20 to 20.
Yeah.
So you have a 200 plugged into 300. That means you get a high pass crossover. Your output is a band pass crossover, and then you have your second band pass crossover, and then you have your subwoofer. Your feed is here, so your highest frequency is coming into the 200, and everything else is going to progressively play lower. So, you're the fact that you're losing signal doesn't matter, because the next speaker is going to be a lower signal anyways, and then a lower signal and a lower signal. So you're just stair-stepping it down, and it doesn't matter, because whatever, and it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And everyone's going, what are you talking about? And then you just had knobs, and you were like, you'd play the tweeters and you'd be like, yeah, that sounds good. And you play the mid range and you'd be like, yeah, that sounds good. And you play the mid bass and be like, yeah. And then you do the sub, yeah, that's awesome. And then you'd like blend them together and you'd play like your Steely Dan, and you'd be like, you'd be back there for 20 minutes, because tell you right now, didn't have an RTA.
No. Well, and then you're trying to set up your big third octave EQ, one for left, one for right, and you're like,
no, never, no.
Yeah.
No, they had a 6-channel EQ that I had from Orion. There was like I think it was a 6-band parametric EQ.
Yeah, the in-dash one.
Yeah, and that was as good as it got. And there again, hey, this is it. Well, what does it do? It's got 6 bands. What does that mean? Well, you turn this knob here, and when that sounds good, you turn this knob and see if that makes it sound better. Okay, I could do that. And you're just like
tweaking. Well, see, that makes it hard to do the V pattern if you don't have the sliders.
There's no V pattern. Yeah, and it was like, and you learned really quick that it was like a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, this is pertinent. Speaking of Orion, make sure to hit the EQ buttons.
Oh, hell yes.
That's the turbocharge button on there.
Dude, that was the definition of the Mo Better Bass button.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That was the Mo Better Bass button, bro.
Do you know what the frequencies were on that? I totally
hertz.
Was it?
Hertz. It was 45 on the Orion, 6 or 12 dB at 45 hertz, man. Boom! Yeah, and you had those little peak light. They had peak light indicators on them back then.
Yeah, on the 2100s.
No, they had them on all of them. All the SX amplifiers had peak light indicators on them, and like you didn't care. Like they were on, man. They were on. I got one here somewhere.
Yeah, I was always an HCCA guy. That's why I didn't mess with the SX too much.
Yeah, I don't think the original. Hold on. I don't think the originals had them. Straggling myself. 15, 45 and 15. No. I think the second generation, the pretty ones. Yeah, the second generation pretty one that came that was still the anodized nice ones. 45 and 15 hertz too, I think. Yeah. I don't know. We never turned it on for highs.
Yeah.
Never turned it on for highs. Screw that. No. People blew those enough on their own, It's like subs. Actually, it was funny. One of my first jobs in the retail was I had to do all the shipping. So, because the owner hated at AV, hated doing shipping. So it was like I'd come in Friday and spend like 4 hours just doing shipping. And I mean, we'd send back, oh my God, you'd spend back 30 woofers, easily send back 30 woofers. People blew this shit. And the funny part is I look back now and I go, I bet you it's because we're putting them in these bandpass boxes.
Yeah.
Could be crazy. No. It's not that. It's not that. Just people are hard on them. You think that's what it is? It's
they
not.
Never pay them above or below tuning on a bandpass. Who would do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like It's not that it's not the bandpass box, because when we switched back to ported block boxes, once the Orion craze ended and we went back to just making ported boxes, like when we picked up Image Dynamic was like, build ported boxes, guys. And I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, granted, the ports were 40 inches long. It snaked through the box and it'd take all day to build one. But, it was like, who cares? And when we switched to Diamond was like, no, slow it down. Just a regular port in the center is all you need. I was like, oh, thank God. Yes. 1.5-inch port all day long.
Larry, I was looking for something online. I wanted to get you guys the link. I'll post it again to SciJag, which we're fixing to start when we sign out from this. So you guys can watch the show about the sound of metal, the movie review.
I think this one is done. I think we're at
I think it's done, man. So, do we have anything?
I think we'll carry this topic on to next week, because I had a bunch more stuff I wanted to talk about, but actually we got carried away. So, as we're off to do. Yes. So I think next week we'll carry this on. We'll talk more about products of the past, because there's definitely a bunch of them that I wanted to hit on. But hey, SciJag it is. We go sideways and we just kind of run with it. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in. As far as what I got coming up is tomorrow starts a new series on a Chevy Impala that we're dealing. We took this way too far, as we always do. And I kind of feel that's kind of what our thing is we like to dig deep and twist all the nuts and bolts and just go crazy into that. And so we're talking about the new Amp Pro or new Amp Sub Pro and the Chevy Impala, but we go all the way through it. So I think it's going to end up being a 3 or 4 part series of just putting in this Amp Pro, but we covered so much doing it. So it was just like, wow. So that's going to be the next couple shows that roll out. Tomorrow's the news. So make sure you head over to Dean and Fernando's Car Stereo Clips at 9 o'clock for the news. If not, you can always catch the rebroadcast anytime you want thereafter. And then Saturday. So what do you got going on?
I've got hardly anything. So I've got an amp dyno. I tested Rockford Fosgate. So the one I've done the old school SPL challenge with, I tested it, and I'm going to put that video out. That'll come up. Sound Advice on Monday.
Yeah, you got what? 3 shows left?
3 shows left. Yep, and that'll be it.
That was
and then
nice.
I'll be guest host status after that. So
that doesn't mean anything for you. I feel like guest host status just means permanent status.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm trying to get my. I think if I do one more time on Kicker, I'm official guest host.
Yes.
So well, I don't know what that means, but
I don't know.
I just need the title. I mean, if I have the title, that's all I need.
A paycheck would be better. I mean, let's be
honest.
Oh
yeah, paycheck, or just like infinite supplies of L7s, X's, something like that. One or the other.
Maybe key 501s.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, let me drop it in the comments one more time.
Make sure you guys head over to the new channel, SideJag. We're going to talk. Trust me. Please watch this first one. It's going to be rough. There's no question about it. But it's all about movies and just guy stuff. And I know it's what's going to make this show better. Because a lot of the content here we get to take over there, and it's just going to be fun. So head over there, check it out, and let us know what you think. And with that, you watch us next week, next Thursday, same bat time.
Same bat channel.
See ya.